Okay, so we have AI and you, fears, myth, and research writing. For those who are saying, Doctor, this, so please, I'm Oluwasegun, just call me by Shegun, and then let's move on. And I'm a student. Um, let's go by days. So the question I want to just ask is, have you ever used AI? But even before that, I have something that you can just scan, or you can just go to maybe www.menti.com. As you have it, you have the link there, or you just scan this. You have a few questions that you can just answer. Very few, I think about 5 questions, and they are all, we have multiple choice, and then some are even word cloud. So you can just scan that, and then you can go into that now. Yes, if you have done that, just let me know. Yeah, has anybody done that? Just scan it, or you just go to www.menti.com. Preferably use Google Chrome to do that. You don't need to leave the meeting. While you are in the meeting, we will just transmit there. And then I can also share with you whatever you are typing. So you use www.menti.com. And then when you get there, you are going to see a code, or a place where you can enter a code. So you have to enter 8906100141, and that's all. So once you do that, and then we can be on the same page. Yeah. So present, you should be able to see it now. Okay. Yeah, has anybody joined?
Yeah, I've joined.
Yeah, please feel free to interact as long as there's no background noise. You can also cut me at any time. If you also have questions about the first thing I share, feel free. So we have the first question. Okay, fine. Yeah, just one person. Okay, second. Okay, third. I hope I'm going to get somebody that will say no, or I don't think. Yeah, just 6. Okay, 6 out of 8. Yeah, am I still expecting? We are 19. Yeah. So if you are 19, then I should be able to have at least 15. Okay, now we have just 7. Okay, 8 person is typing. Okay. Okay, so it means everybody agrees that you have used AI before. Wow, I wish somebody would say no, and that will have extended my interaction. Maybe somebody would deliberately say no. Thank you for that person. And I wish I know the name of that person that said no. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Because some people think that AI is ChatGPT, Grammarly, Site AI, and many of those so-called maybe classic AI. Well, let me shock you. Those are not just AI. And AI has been in existence for more than 100 years. Even Google Map is an AI. I was to go to a place where I do not understand their language, and there's no how I could communicate right from the airport to where I was to go. The only thing I could do was to use my Google Translate and then say it in English, and then I translate it to the language of the immediate environment. And then I showed it to them, and then they can also do the same thing, and I can communicate. So Google Translate is also part of AI. Google Map is part of AI. Even the SMS you are sending is part of AI. The phone call you are making is part of AI. So those who are saying, oh, I don't like to use AI, I don't even want it at all, they are even using AI. The phone they are using, even if you can remember, as far back as 2006, for example, or 2003, you will see that sometimes you can just send message to something they will call wiki, something like Wikipedia, and then you get a report or you get a reply. Sometimes they will deduct like maybe 2 naira at that time and so on. Those are also scale of AI, but it's just that at this time now is now in a fuller scale. So those who think that they have not been using AI or they think that AI will replace them, if AI will actually replace them, they will have been replaced longer before this time. Let's see the next one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Is anybody typing? What AI tools do you use? Yeah. Family. Yeah. Liner. Okay. That's good. ChatGPT. Yeah. Grammarly. Qbot. Yeah. Qbot. Yeah. We have ChatGPT. We have Google. Okay. We have Perplexity AI. Yeah. Perplexity AI. Yeah. Notebook LM. Yeah. Any other one? How many are we now? We are 20 now. Yeah. If we are 20, then oh, I also see that some are typing it on unable to get it to Mentitin. Oh, sorry about that. You can just type your question on your answer there. Yeah. I see some people also are using um the chat room. That's very interesting. Okay. Notebook Jenny. Okay. All right. Um, okay. C space. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I think I need to move on. Okay. Yeah. Ever use any of these two? In fact, from the last question I already have, I think many of you have already used them. But it's possible that somebody will say no. Okay, so I see that the second one now, the rating system or the rating scale has reduced. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Wow. Okay. Only once or twice. Oh, fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't have no. Okay. So the person that mentioned only once or twice, can you share the context why, what prompted you to use them and why? Feel free to unmute yourself and talk. Okay, if that person will not be able to say anything,
Sorry,
okay, yeah, cool, thank you.
yes, I mistakenly clicked on that. I used it well, not
Oh,
twice.
oh, okay, if you use it often, then what do you use it to do? What do you use them to do? Which one do you use often?
I use Chat GPT, SciSpace, for literature, SciSpace for literature. I also use Litmat, both Litmat and SciSpace for literature review.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, oh, somebody said I'm afraid to use them. Has anybody said I'm afraid to use them? Or it was just a normal ranking? Who is afraid to use any of these? Yeah, I think I can ask that question. Feel free. Everything you say is anonymous, so I don't need your name. Yeah. Who is afraid to use any of these? Nobody is ready to talk. I wish I could frame your voice with AI and then give me some response. Okay, then I have to move on. What is the biggest feeling about using AI in research? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I see the pattern is changing. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I want a volunteer to actually tell me about why he's excited about using. Oh, excitement has dropped now. Why is somebody curious about? You are just free, just unmute yourself and tell me, or pick any of these category that speaks to you, and then tell us why. Yeah, any volunteer.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, what's your biggest feeling about using AI in research? I think what AI have done for me is to give me more or less like a foundation or a background on where to start my thinking from. Most of the time, I'll face my computer thinking of what to write. I don't know how to start. The moment I send some prompts to AI will give me information about the topic I'm trying to develop. And before you know it, I go into writing without so many problems. Although I have my problems with AI, which I might share with you, but that's what AI have done for me so far. It gives me that beginning, that start. I always get it from AI. And that is what I actually like about AI. It helps me to start.
Yeah, thank you very much. I picked that. Who want to pick about maybe afraid or any other category apart from being excitement or being curious? Any other volunteer?
I want to speak about curiosity. Okay.
Okay, Chief, please speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just be quiet for now.
I'll allow you to just open. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to speak about curiosity. I think I was faced with a timeline. I had a lot of tasks to do, and then I was supposed to have a presentation. And then one of my colleagues told me that I could use Notebook LM to get some specific points for my PowerPoint presentation. And then the curiosity led me to do that. So while I used it became obvious that it helped me save time, and it gave me a lot of points I could use for my slides. So it made preparing for the presentation actually far easier, less stressful, and then it arranged my thoughts. So that was the idea about curiosity. So I let me use.
Okay. Can I see here from you, Femi? Please, regardless of the title, allow me or permit me to just call you by names. Number one, it creates some kind of common ground, and then we are able to interact as without the power dynamics that is actually in calling somebody a doctor or calling somebody a mister. So permit me to just use the regular name or name without using title. So Femi, can I hear from you what the point you wanted to make before?
Okay, thank you, Shegun. Actually, I actually agree with your.
Yeah. Hold on, where is it? Where is the thing inside?
Dr. Balogun wants to talk.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay. Yeah, Femi, let's hear from you before we move on.
It's all right. I actually agree with this no title calling, but I think I can tell you I'm a PhD student too, one of the university in Nigeria. So a lot of people call me doctor. I'm not a doctor too. I'm just Femi, and I like the way it is. So Straight to the point, I have problem with AI. I have my fear with AI. One, my supervisor can easily detect AI from afar. If you have used AI to do any part of your work, maybe an assignment is given to you, you have a seminar you want to present, even pictures, AI pictures, my supervisor is very vast when it comes to all these AI use. So the moment he's seeing it from distance, he will tell you this is AI. And that has been a problem between me and him because there's no policy in the university that says we should not use AI. But there's no policy in the university that actually acknowledge AI use. So it's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, it depends on your supervisor. If your supervisor like it, it's fine. If your supervisor don't like it, you can't use it. So that has been a major problem for me using AI. And if you are submitting, they use Turnitin. Any assignment you are submitting, they use Turnitin. And Turnitin will give you percentage AI that you have used. The students don't get to see the percentage AI used using Turnitin, but the lecturers have that access to see the percentage AI using Turnitin. So most of the time when I want to use AI, I'm always afraid to use AI. And I don't actually know how to go about it. That's one of the reasons why I joined this work, because I really want to learn. I mean to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, because you share what has been a concern, not only to you, but to many, especially who are maybe in Africa. Let me say to you that if you're not to be in Africa, to run a program a semester without using AI, you will, I don't want to say you will die out. Because even sometimes the textbook I showed you, even the lecturer had to bring somebody to a class and say, okay, I'm inviting somebody who has been using AI for a while, he's a professor and so on. And then he came to actually teach us how to ethically prompt AI. You see, the challenge I have with some lecturers or some people, especially being, I don't want to mention the country, but majorly in Africa, is the fact that when something is trending, and not that something is trending, those that you are following or those who are using as a roadmap, they've gone far ahead of you. For anybody that has had the opportunity to travel out and see how their program is so robust, and not just being robust, is very applicable. So they are not just teaching you something that you cannot apply to the real world. You will see that we have a long way to go. And if you understand your advisor, as you mentioned, for example, there's no problem. Sometimes when I'm working with my advisor and then I'm working on a code and we are not getting the code, my advisor will say, Shegun, can you ask your friend? When he say my friend, he knows what it means. It means, can you ask any of your AI tools that you use? So in fact, even sometimes when I do something and it's like, oh, you could also just use AI and then let's see what idea with AI give you, and then sit down and see how far you can go. One of the things you will get from it is, even if you're not going to use AI to write it because of your advisor, one, AI will make the work more easier for you by knowing where to start from. Not only knowing where to start from, the depth of what you are writing. Oftentimes, when I pick papers written by many from Nigeria, for example, I could tell that this paper was written from Nigeria because the kind of language used is going to be shallow. Not only the language used, even the depthness of what they are researching is something that you will say, is this all? And so on. So like what Nkechi shared, for example, Notebook LM will not just give you the skeleton, it's going to give you what we call mind frame or mind map. And then you see how one connect to one, and then that already can build you a story. And then, of course, it has its own disadvantage as well. And then that's why sometimes I don't use one, I use almost even up to 10. So depending on what I'm actually using them to do. And even when I'm done with them, before I send my work out, even either for an assignment, as a PhD student, I have access to Turnitin. And then so I check my work. Number one, I check for AI level, and I also check for, even for my paper, I check for the Turnitin as well to see, okay, how much of this do I have? And then what do I need to correct, and so on. And then when it is genuine or when it is less than 15%, I'm not worried. If it's a paper, if it's less than 20%, I'm not worried. And if it's a Q1 journal and it is less than 15%, I'm not worried. So that's part of what you should know. In fact, there was a conference I submitted, like a manuscript, but for that conference, you have to submit more or less like a full paper before they accept, before they review. And they were like, they told the reviewers, do not use AI to review the manuscript of the writers. So it means even the reviewers, the lecturer, or many of the editors are aware that people use AI to review. I use AI to review, for example. I don't need to upload the work, or I don't need to, when I read the work and then I want to make my comment, I've already made my comments. But for me to now present it the way I think whoever I'm reviewing for will understand, then I could just prompt AI, okay, these are my responses. Okay, can you turn this to be more or less like a conversation to the person, so that when the person is reviewing his work, he can know what and what is to do. So there are a lot of, even when the person is saying don't use it, there are a lot of things you can use it to do. You may not need to write as exactly as it's written and then giving it to your supervisor and so on. But you can use it to get your own idea and write it and change many things, and then you can make it genuine. So you have a lot to learn about that. As about saving time, you see, I don't want to be spending 1 year to do just one research. It doesn't make sense. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, for example. Sometimes you send a paper to a journal because you want Q1 journal. And then 6 months after you send the paper, you have not even gotten first review. So it may take up to maybe sometimes, even there was one recently, it took them 1 year after the paper had been accepted before the paper was published. And so it means that if you spend 1 year to do a paper, and then the reviewer or the journal will spend 1 year to review, that means in 2 years, you only have one paper. So you want to send like maybe 7 or 10 papers in a year, not just any paper, good quality paper in a year. And then you know that at the end of that year, you are going to have 5 papers. As there are people are complaining, I see one of lecturers in Nigeria who publishes at least 5 papers every year, and not just in, the minimum is Q2 journal. Yeah. So it doesn't, I don't mean that the person is using what's it called, but the person will tell you that, oh, I have even trained my AI and my AI talk like me. So that is the extent that people can actually go. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I don't know if you have any comments you want to make, feel free. Yeah, I see that there are 3 players already. Oh yeah. Are you doing birthday? Yeah, I like that cake. Wow, thank you very much. Only 5 players. Can we have one more? And then I will stop that. Okay. Yeah, I have to just leave that place and then move on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So one of the things that I believe you can still see me and you can hear me. Yeah. So one of the things that you will know is that of recent I saw some of the grant writer or some of the grant tutor in Nigeria recently. You may know his name, but I'm not publicizing it. It was actually introducing how people can use AI to write grants. And so that's why the lecturer that you mentioned, for example, go and look at the profile of that lecturer. I don't want to say much about such individual, but oftentimes that person may be far behind where the person ought to be at the moment. If you see what I'm showing you at the moment, you will see that it's trending and it's applied in different area of human life, particularly to make human life more easier, and people can do many other things without wasting much time. People use it in cybersecurity, in insurance, and that's why people are very much afraid now that it's going to replace them. Yes, it's going to replace some people, or it's going to replace some job. Clerk may be replaced in no distant time if the person is not using AI. I was talking to a colleague who actually had a company, and he said about 10 people have been working for him, but now he's going to reduce them to 8 because 2 out of the 10 people are not using AI. So number one, it makes their work to be shallow. Number two, it makes their work to be ethic. They don't do things on time. So people are looking for those who are going to perform on time and do whatever they want to do and move on with their program. So that's why we can't deny it. It's going to be part of our life. And the better, the earlier, the better we just begin to use them. And then not just using them, you use them responsibly and we use them ethically. So also in career is also going to replace many. Of course, definitely many will be replaced. And then as it's replacing many, it's going to be creating more job to people. And that's why if you are doing any research now, be it at any level, master's or PhD, and your research does not have any component of AI, or it does not have any component of maybe digital humanity or digital science, that project may not have a future. You may need to think and rethink, because everybody is looking for how AI can actually be used. Recently, I posted a picture on one of the AI tools, and I was like, analyze this picture for me. And it was like, oh, the age range of this person you have uploaded is between this, and the person is this, and the person is that, and the person is happy, and so on. So that's part of what somebody can actually use today and say, okay, analyze this picture for me. But even beyond that, for those who are you are using code, as you are learning one coding system, for example, there's another one coming up, in a short while. You have not even finished learning the first one, and then the other one is already out. And before you know it, you're already way out. You don't even know what to do again. You can actually leverage AI, and that can actually make the work a bit more easier. So of course, there are different definitions of AI, and of course, and there are a lot of things that are not AI. The lecturer that you mentioned, for example, sometimes I compare what the AI generates now, and I compare it with the writings of 1950s and so on. You will see a lot of similarities. The person that says it's AI, the question is, how does the person know that it's AI? And it can dictate because of this. Can the student actually defend that it's not AI? If the student can defend that it's not AI, and the university does not even have a policy that says do not use AI. Even Harvard University has a policy. You use AI and you use AI responsibly. As long as you can defend whatever you have written, you are free. And these people are going, and they are making it, not just that they are making it, they are building a lot of things, they are making a lot of headways, they are having a lot of resources and many things. But those that refuse to use it, they don't go anywhere. Publication, they don't go. In fact, even publication in Q1 journal, they spend money to do it. So you see the irony and perils of life, that if there's anyone that's supposed to even know how to use it, because one, the language is not even your first language. So when you write, the first learner or the first speaker already know that this is where it's coming from. And in fact, when I came over here, I discovered that it's not just about the accent, even about the construct. There was a time I was discussing with the lecturer who was actually a Briton, but he has spent most of his life not in Britain. Sometimes he was in Canada, another time maybe Japan and other things. But now he just recently retired, and I was talking to him. I was like, when I first came, the students seemed to be more serious in classroom, but now they lack decorum. It was like, that construct you mentioned is not in their English. They do not say decorum. They will just say they lack good behavior. So you will now see that sometimes you will now write to a lecturer who, for example, you have already known that decorum is this, and then you have written a paper, and then the reviewer does not actually have that background. Maybe it's an American English speaker. He will be wondering and say, what is decorum? Because it's not in their dictionary. That's not how they use it. But if, for example, you say, okay, I'm submitting this paper to a journal, and so, okay, ensure that you have already filtered out words that are not actually Britain, that are not actually Britain or British, remove those words and then convert them to American and so on. And then so when they are reading it, it resonates with them because they understand what they are reading. And then with that, they can review your paper on time, and your paper does not get stuck. And then, or maybe a reviewer does not, almost at the final stage of sending the review to the editor, and they will say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't complete it. and I'm not even going to continue again. Can you look for somebody else? So those are the things, those are the many other part of ways that we can actually leverage AI on our daily life. Yeah, feel free to stop me at any time. Anybody having any comment to say? Because sometimes I could be more faster than, yeah. If you have any comments, just raise your hand or just type something on the chat box and I can just call upon you to go ahead and ask a question. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. But yeah, Shalom, free. Your volume seems to be poor.
I'm asking question because I'm a victim of cuts, and in fact, I was disciplined for that. So, how do I? Because am I to like? Is it AI that will write everything, and then I'll just edit? And how do I go about it?
I would have said I didn't get the first part of your question. I only got the last part because the line was breaking. So I don't mind if you can say everything again.
Okay, I said I'm asking this question because I think I have a wrong view. I don't know the right way to use AI or everything. I used it in my first semester and I got caught, and in fact, I was disciplined for that. So now, if talking about submitting a paper for review or for a journal or so, if I'm writing, let's say I want to write that paper, am I supposed to use AI to write? Just give it the prompt and tell it what I want it to write, and then it writes everything. So I can now go ahead to edit and make it human. If I do that, what's the certainty that I will not be caught? Like I will not be disciplined for using AI as academic integrity is concerned.
Yeah, let me ask a further question if you don't mind.
Okay.
The class that you use it for, was there any component of the course synopsis that you can use but acknowledge?
No, I did not even acknowledge that I used it.
Okay. One, the approach you mentioned as how to use it may not actually be the best, because one of the things that you will know is that, as you can also see on this slide, is a tool, is not a researcher. So if it's a tool and it's not a researcher, you instruct a tool to do what you already know, but you do not actually know how to put it. So let me bring it to a context. Let's say, for example, I want to research, let me say, the rootness of corruption in Africa, or sorry, not Africa, in Western world, because some people always think that there's no corruption in Western world. That is not true. So if I want to say the rootness of corruption in maybe Western world, I don't need to firstly go to AI and say the rootness of corruption. Can you give me something about it? Of course, it's going to hallucinate. It will give you something, either that thing is correct or not. But if I've read some materials, also some books, for example, and I've read about people who mention about the pollution, about the corruption, and so on, and then at least just maybe about some sentence about what they have mentioned, and I have summarized it, and then it is now easier for me to say, okay, ChatGPT or any of these AI tool that you want to use. Oh, I've read this, and then can you give me something about this? So when it gives you any response, if the response is not correct, you already know that, oh, this response is not correct. Sometimes I go on and I say, are you sure this thing is correct? And then it says, it's correct. So if I say, okay, if you say it's correct, what about this? Say, oh, you caught me, or I'm sorry. And then and so on. So the point is that you need to know some amount of things about what you are doing before you can give it a prompt, so that when it gives you a reply, you already know that the reply is giving you support what you have, what you already know. But it's not just about knowing something, it's also about, can you put those things together in no short distance time? So like the material I showed you, for example, yes, I use it. A year before that time, that same lecturer taught me, yeah, of course I use it most of my classes because I don't have much time for many things. So the point is, even when I'm using it, sometimes some of lecturers will say declare it because university allow you to say, feel free to use it, but there are other roadmap that you always make sure that you consider before you use it. So when you use it, you acknowledge that you use it. And in fact, some journal will say, mention the length at which you use it. So some people will say, okay, they just use it for code writing. Some will say, okay, we just use it to get idea for the methodology and so on and so forth. So it depends on what you are using it for and then for who as well. But if the lecturer has already mentioned that, well, you can use it, but you must acknowledge, then it means you must acknowledge. And even when you're acknowledging, it means that you are not going to say, oh, I use it to do everything. If you don't use it to do everything, okay, I use it, and then all what I just did was, after writing my sentence and I wanted it to be more flavorish in such a way that you can read it and understand better. So I use it to just maybe correct my grammar or use it to restructure the sentences in such a way that it will be appealing and so on. So there are ethical way of using it. So we are still going to go into that and see how far we'll go. So people think when you mention AI, they think it's cheating. They said it kills creativity. And then they even mentioned that it is not, or it is always accurate. And then they use other things. Well, if you say it kills creativity, then the question I'm going to ask is creativity of who? What I know is that it's going to actually benefit more of those who are, let me say, average students. At least it will benefit average students. But for those who do not have anything, those who are, I don't want to say dullard, but those who do not have the cognitive load to actually, do some things, it's going to affect them. Let me bring it to a context. A student is not doing well. That student, if he use AI, he's still going to fail, because instead of the student he won't be able to know what to prompt the AI with. That's one. When AI is wrong, he won't be able to know that AI is wrong. So, but if he's an average student who have already read that thing or he did not understand, for sometimes, I remember there was a class, you have a lot of material to read before the next class. And it is just 1 week, 1 week interval class, and then you only have one class a week. And sometimes it is 3 hours or 4 hours sometimes. And by the time you are done with the class, you don't even know what else to do. So an average student who is already struggling, but at least is getting something out of the class, it's easier for that average student to make use of AI, leverage on it and say, okay, drop this material here. So this material is complex. Can you simplify it and write it for me? And then you write it for you and you read it. And then now as you are reading it, you understand. So that even when you now go back to that same material, and then the material makes more sense to you. So a lot of ways you can use it. To those who are thinking it's cheating, well, if the student is not doing well before, it's going to be cheating because that student will only be relying on it. And it can also kill creativity, no doubt. But part of what I think that you also need to do is ensure that you balance it. You want to do a research you don't know anything about at all. Even if you are going to prompt it to just give you a sketch of what you need it for, there are ways you need to also do that. And then once you get what you need, then you still need to go and read about whatever you want. And then by reading about it, you can confirm either what he said is true or not. And then you can also look at the multiple sources. Have you asked GPT and say, okay, this thing you mentioned, give me the source. And then you go and read the source. And the source that he even generated for you as citation is not even available anywhere. Yeah, it's correct. Especially if what you are also researching is not what it was done in the Western world. If it is to be African restricted to, they can't know many of those things because we are not also training those AI tools with those things. So it does not make them to know about them. But as you use it, as you train it, for example, if I ask about myself, for example, and you know what it's going to bring out. So because you have trained it over and over, and then he has seen, okay, your publication is there, okay, you have visibility there and there. So when the person has higher visibility, there is higher chance of giving you something correct than when the person does not have, or when a phenomenon you are researching does not have higher visibility. So yeah, people think that it makes me lazy if I continue using it, or the content is always wrong or biased and so on. Well, I think where they are at the moment is building responsible AI, because somebody shared a story with me recently, and it was like somebody was asking AI, and he said, "Can I eat stone?" And he said, "Yes, it's good for you, good for your body. Eat stone." Now, of course, we know that that kind of engine that the person used, or that kind of AI to the person used, is either it is not yet completely trained, it's still in the process. And that's why it's always good for us to know which one do we actually use and why. So you heard people saying, okay, we use this for literature review. So if I need to do literature review, I know what to go for first. Before I started using AI, the first place I go for would be Google Scholar, and then begin to read, download those material. Those things waste a lot of time. But now there are other places I go to, and then when I go there, I get mind map or whatever I need, and then that actually give me a sense of what I needed to do and whatever I need to consider first, and so on. So that is part of why we need to make sure that we use it as a supporting tool, not a replacement thinking. So if you use it as a supporting tool, it's going to help you to be productive. In fact, if you use it as a supporting tool, let's say you are struggling to publish one paper before in a year, you can actually use it to publish. Okay, I got that question. So let's say you use it to do one paper in a year before, and then you use it ethically, you can actually finish like 4 or 5 papers in a year. And then those papers is not going to be published in Journal of Abuja or something, or Journal of Ibadan, or Journal. It's going to be good journals where you are going to get feedback. At worst, even if you are not going to accept it straight away, they are going to review it. And once the paper is reviewed, then you're already a step closer. Unlike when it is debt rejection. I remember when I first came, some of the people I sent, they were like, oh, they were like, no, debt rejection. But when I sat down and I look at what is actually going on, and I studied them, I was like, okay, fine. So now, even before I hardly receive maybe debt rejection, they want, okay, they are going to review it, but can you do us one favor? Just reformat this paper to their own style sheets, and then we'll send it out. And that sounds good. So there are a lot of ways we can use it as a supporting system. I think I got a question that I want to. I have a paper that is 100% AI content. Okay. I really don't trust using that paper for anything serious. Okay. Okay. Now, Mr. Femi, are you still there?
I'm very much here. I'm with you.
Okay. Let me also add this, or let me shock you with this. Was it not last year thereabouts that there's a big publishing house that many lecturers in Nigeria spend a lot of money to publish there, and the publishing house sold their materials, all what people have been publishing with them, they sold it to AI to use it to train their machine. And of course, each time they sell those materials to them, they gather a lot of money. So it's possible that the paper that even say you published yesterday that was even AI free may not be AI free in the next couple of weeks. If where you publish it, sell their material or sell their content to AI publishing house. So you will see that there are a lot of things going on there, because they believe that you are publishing, they can use it. The more they publish it, the more they use it, the more they train with it. For those who are using any of the application for maybe for grant application, yeah, there are other things. If I were to have a meeting with you, the story may be a different one on how to use AI, because of course, grad school is a lot of things, especially when you are just coming in. So there are a lot of things they want to test and so on. But even with that, it doesn't mean that you're not going to use it, but there are still ways that you will use it ethically, in such a way that it will be accepted. And maybe I should even use that opportunity to share this experience. There was a case of a lecturer I sent something to, like maybe about 2, 3 years ago now, when I was actually applying for grad school, and the lecturer replied with automatic message, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't be able to, I'm actually on leave at the moment," and so on. But because I continued my research and so on, like 2 years later or 3 years later, the lecturer just saw a proceeding and he said, and he talked to his advisor and said, "Do you know this person? I saw the abstract and I'm so much interested in the abstract." And the guy was like, "Oh, I know him." And then that was how we just had a meeting, a Zoom call. And I was like, wow. When we finished the meeting, I knew that that name rang some bell. And I went to my email and I was checking, and I told that student, I said, "Your advisor, I sent him a message so time, and he replied with automatic email, this, that now your advisor is now the one wanting to discuss the work with him and see how far we can go with it and so on." So part of what I also mentioned to you, especially if you are a grad student or you are a potential PhD student, is that continue researching. It's not just about getting the application done. Even when you continue doing that, sometimes it is the spaces where those works are sent to that you are going to be invited and say, "Okay, we are doing this kind of similar project. Can you be part of it?" and so on. And that can make your application stronger, because now your network has increased. If I know the person who is trying to say something, and I know that you are actually, who is that person, please? Can you make yourself? Okay, thank you.
Can I come in?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, and good evening to everyone present. I must say, I am so happy to be part of this workshop, and it is something that everybody, I believe, once you are within doing research, and it is always good to try to keep abreast with what is happening around the world. And I must say, I commend you and I thank you so much for thinking out to carry us along on some of these ethical processes to use AI in our research. And that goes to my question, comment. I would say when it comes to AI usage, it is a process or a journey filled with both curiosity and fear. Curiosity in the sense that you do not know the place you are actually sending the work, the people you are sending the work to. You are curious to actually know what they would feel about the research you have actually carried out, the writing you are sending in to them. Yeah, it is more of you are very curious, anxious to know what they will feel about it, and as well afraid whether the inculcation of AI in the writing, or whether in the draft or whatever, whether it's something that could give a dent to your image that you are trying to portray. And as such, it leaves most of the time you send out a paper and you're all carrying, you're all in fear, trying to, every now and then you're looking at your email to see if there is any negative remark or whatever. So I must say, having this opportunity to undergo through this workshop with you, part of the things that triggered me to, just as they, without you mentioning it twice, I told you, is something, just write my name as the first participant and all of that. So this is something that I would love to know the best way to use AI in writing, and yeah, what are the prompting process, and how can it be used in the right ethically without necessarily being jittering about the result of one's writing. So that's my comment, and I actually hope that is still part of the what is it now? What everyone in this workshop urges to learn about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think to me, I don't think curiosity that you mean, to me, I see it as being positive. At least I've sent my papers this year to a couple of journals, and of course, before I send my paper to any journal, I want to firstly check. I want to do like in-house check-in. One, I want to use some AI tools and check some sentences and some paragraphs and see, okay, what's going on, if everything is actually tidy up. The second thing I want to check is what's it called? Use Turnitin. I want to use Turnitin, and in fact, I remember some people I sent to some good journals. I even forgot to use Turnitin, and I didn't get any feedback. Like maybe this paper is this and so on. They reviewed the paper and the paper was published and so on. But now sometimes I would just want, okay, let me just even check. Let me just check the level of this and that, and then I go with it. I check the result. I just look at it. Sometimes when I see the result and then I see where it is highlighted, okay, I sit down closely with wherever it has been highlighted. And then I want to just make one or two sentences, maybe to buttress or to do something or to remove something. And then everything becomes maybe original or genuine and so on. And then I go on with it. Now, for conferences, for example, imagine you have finished a paper and then you just got to know that you have a deadline that the paper will, the submission for conference is going to expire in the next maybe 5 hours. And then you don't want to sit down and say, oh, where should I actually start writing the abstract from? Because the abstract for some of those journals is sometimes about 500 words, about 450 words, and so on. Not like in Nigeria that is just 150 words. Sometimes I use AI, not even sometimes, oftentimes I use AI and then send it. The one I said, that lecturer saw, for example, and he was like, oh, can we do something and so on and so forth. It was AI, of course, that I used to do it. And then when I finished with it with AI and I sat down with it, and it goes on. I don't want to just go into it. Like, okay, before I go into that, maybe let me share. Emmanuel, I knew I saw your hand up. I'm going to call on you, and then you are still going to. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, Richard?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, like this topic is all about race. You see this one all about race?
Yes, it's very, yeah, I can see your screen.
Like this paper, for example, was just by the help of AI, because I was to write it where I don't even know how to write it. They told me to write it in LaTeX, and I've never used LaTeX before. And then I write it and I give it to WhatsApp. I say, okay, transform it to LaTeX form, and then you type it to LaTeX, and then you just copy it to LaTeX and do one or two corrections there, and that's all. So the point is, in as much as you say you want to avoid it, it's something you cannot avoid at the moment. Because even when you don't use it, people will even think that you are using it. But when you use it, some of those journals, for example, I can tell you of Elsevier journals. The moment you are submitting it, Elsevier journal will say, declare how you use it. If it is just for methodology, and then they will tell you that AI cannot be an author. So you cannot say I'm citing AI, that AI is the author of this. So they are even telling you how it should be cited, how it should be used. So if, for example, you use it for methodology and say, okay, I use it to draft paper or to just get the idea of the paper, and then thereafter, and then you mention how you use it, fine. They are okay with it. In fact, what part of what they like is integrity. Oh, this person has integrity. And then part of why they are doing that is because when it is reviewed, and then the reviewer says, respond to this, and you not respond to it, and you say, imagine I say, I don't know how it got there, or I don't know, then it's going to be an issue. But as long as they are going to tell you, respond to this line, and then you can respond to it, and then you move on. So I will tell you that if you are sending any paper for any journal for publication, I don't think you should be afraid, because even the data you are using, after a couple of years, those data also will be sold to AI, and they are going to use those data to also train their data or train their machine for their machine to be robust. Because the more data you give it to AI, the more it becomes robust. As about the prompting process is more unique. And why it is unique is because it depends on what you are doing. And not everybody on this call is actually using AI for research. So that one is going to be more specific. And that will be the second, second workshop. And it's going to be ethical use of AI prompting. So that one is more specific. And then we are going to go into every of the stage of writing, right from the abstract to the conclusion. Even is going to include even referencing and so on. If I'm able to answer your question at all, Emmanuel, can I hear from you now? Because I saw your hand raised up.
I did my shuttle. I did that
Please,
shutdown. So
I don't know. I hope I'm heard.
Yeah, but there are a lot of background noise.
Yes, I'm actually outside, but I could still not avoid missing this workshop. So please pardon me for the background noises, and I just managed to hear my voice. I think mine should be more louder, kind of. So first off, I want to thank the organizer of this workshop, because I think it's thoughtful, owing to other fact that it come on a free mode. So thanks so much, Mr. Segun, for this opportunity. I hope that we gain as much as we can from the discussions we have in this evening. Please, I want to start again from what Richard said, or the concerns he raised, rather. In the first place, I think when you use AI for research or for any kind of document that you're sending out, I believe the anxiety that he was talking about rather stems from a place of guilt, that you know that this is not actually the original, your mental work. And most often, because AI content usually come in such an intimidating format that you would think that actually there's nothing you can even add, that this is already perfect. Most often people do not tend to edit it in any simplest way at all. They'll just have to forward it because you don't even know what you're going to edit. It comes as perfectly as you never expected it. So what I normally do is, sometimes I think somebody was asking which of the AI I used for the literature review, because I said that there was a paper I published last year that I used AI from beginning to the end. So somebody was asking which of the AIs I used for the literature review. So what I normally do, I think using AI lies so much on our prompting. If you master the art of prompting, you can use it for anything. But for anything academic, anything that has to do with intellectual relations and whatsoever, I think that even if you do not know what you are about to do, put the topic on any AI browser, and it's going to clear you, give you direction, and something like that. Then, if at the end of the day, AI will still tell you, it will still ask you, will you want me to further develop the content? That is how silly AI can be sometimes. And then if you say yes, it will give you the content in a way that you will like it. But then at the end of the day, you have to use paraphrasers. We have many paraphraser softwares. Use those paraphraser softwares to paraphrase them to the point so that wherever you're sending it to will not have 100% AI content from you. Then at the end of the day, there are some paraphrasers because some of these, in fact, all of these paraphrasers are still AI. Grammarly is AI. What's it called? If you're using Quillbot, it's still AI at the end of the day. So sometimes there's some kind of paraphrasing they will do. You check it, it will still give you 100% AI content. So what I normally do in those instances is, having read what AI has given me, I already had the idea or the direction it is going. I will now rewrite everything in my own words. Everything in my own wordings. That way, at least it will give you small integrity wherever it is going. So you don't have to feel that anxiety that comes from a place of guilt. Kinda. Then, at the end of paraphrasing it, we have some AI tools also that we can use to check AI content of a material. Something like, I think Quillbot also has it. Quillbot has it. And I can't remember the names, but I think I'm using up to 3 of such, that at the end of the day, you use it, you run it through to know how many AI content that you still have. If it's that much, if that embarrassing, you keep paraphrasing until you get to a point that can be manageable. Then again, if you use AI to generate any content, I think this time around, people do no longer worry about going to check if you plagiarize another person's work, because AI generated content runs 0 plagiarism on checking for another person's work plagiarized. It's until you check it on AI dictators. So that one aside. Then what I want to ask as a question, after making my contribution, which I just hope it helps in a way. So what I want to ask as a question to my prof is, sometimes I also have doubts that AI will generate a content, that you subject another AI that will detect it as AI generated, you subject it to another AI that will humanize it for you, because we also have AIs that will rewrite it for you in a way that it is human generated. That's when you subject it to those AI dictators, it will tell you 0 AI and 100% human generated. So these are complications. Sometimes after doing all this, I'll just be like, am I even sure it is true? AI generated, AI detected, AI humanized. No. Do we have a kind of an upper AI software that you can use to check and be sure that all these AI manipulations are actually, at the end of the day, that you get what you're looking for? Or, I don't know how I'm going to put it, but I just hope you understand what I want to mean. If we had something like more genuine, or, I don't know. Do we have a way to confirm that all these AI manipulations at the end of the day comes out genuine as we have confirmed it from the source before we send it out? Something like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for both the contribution and your question as well. Let me also mention to you that each time you check your work with Quillbot, for example, you already give them more data to train. So for example, you give your paper to, or you upload your paper to Quillbot to check something for you. You're already giving them work to train their algorithm on. And then even if it does not see it as AI at that time, a couple of days after or a month, you can see it as AI because you already supply your data to them to train with. Now, that's why if you use AI of Grammarly and AI of Quillbot, you are still going to get different results, because AI of Grammarly is not as sophisticated as AI of Quillbot. Reason is because AI of Quillbot was trained with many data, including ChatGPT. So that's why sometimes if you copy something from ChatGPT and then send it to Grammarly, it's going to tell you that, oh, it was just 5 or 10% or 20%. But if you take it to Quillbot, it can tell you that it is already 90%. And in fact, if you use Quillbot to paraphrase it, right, the result is still going to be, and then you take it to somewhere else, it will still dictate. So it depends on what kind of algorithm do they use to train their data. And then to you, when you mentioned that about being guilty, Well, I don't see it as being guilty. The only content I see is the fact that how much of the AI have been used as a tool. That's why I mentioned that it's a tool and not a researcher. Even sometimes when he has written something for you and then it's as if you don't even need to write anything or to change anything. Well, there are a lot of things that you need to change. Sometimes you see the patterning of reading, of writing it. If you read it yourself, you'll see that it does not flow. Even though the concord may be there, the writing may seems as if it's well polished. It's not going to be much more easier to read. So there are a lot of ways it sounds that you know this already here. And then, but if you sit down, even if you say you are making it to be humanized, that humanized version of that AI tool you are using today is making it humanized because that AI tool they have not used much data to train with. The moment you humanize today, that humanizer you use has already gotten some data from you. And then tomorrow you use it, he has gotten some data from you, on and on and on like that. That tool becomes more robust to detect that, in fact, if you say humanize, what is going to give you will not be so much far away from what he has given you before. And if you check it elsewhere, it's not going to be original or authentic, or it's not going to be AI free, rather, not original. So to me, it's not about having integrity. It's about, this is AI. How much of this tool, how much have you used it as a tool? If you use it as a tool and it's just to maybe to rewrite your sentence or to rewrite a paragraph or to reconstruct it or to simplify it in such a way that it will be more easier to read, then there's no need for us to be thinking of, does he have integrity, or maybe I'm afraid of anything. You don't need to be afraid of anything if you use it as a tool and not that it's the one writing everything for you. Let me shock you. In fact, somebody was talking to me who is also in machine learning side, and it was like, today there are many news outlets that were not written by any human being. They were AI generated. That the moment you see the news, because when something happened, within short period of time, the news already there, and then they have already published it and so on. That in fact, sometimes the person will only read it, and then after reading it, he will just sign. And then after signing, the paper is there. And so they are not even careful about, is it AI? Because whatever they are writing, they know that it's also going to be trained with AI, because their company will still sell the data to them and so on. So use it as a tool and not as a researcher. However, there are ways that you can properly prompt it based on what you are writing. Let's say, for example, you want to write one paragraph, and that one paragraph is supposed to have 500 words or 450 words. And then you have only written about 150 words or 200 words. That is going to be more unique, because number one, is going to write, because sometimes even when I'm prompting it, I will say, do not write anything outside, do not generate anything outside this context, right? You have already restricted it to what you want it to generate from, or what you want it to transform from. So everything depends on how you prompt it and how much information did you supply. If, for example, I say, write a paper for me on this, it will write a nice paper, and that paper is going to be 100% generated. But that's not part of it, because if I do that, then the question is that still a research? That's not a research. But I have gone ahead, I have used this or this one that will even produce audio. I have listened to it. I have seen the line of argument of people, and then I've read a couple of materials. I have noted some things. Now, I'm using it to augment my research. That's part of the definition I give it. Augmented intelligence, just to augment the kind of things I'm doing. So if it is to augment, it makes it more easier than for me to, I don't have the knowledge at all, I don't have anything, and I will just say, write a problem or write the paper on this. In fact, it will give you a nice topic and so on. And then it will be as if you don't even need to do anything. No, that is not the ethical way of using it. You are using it to augment your writing. You are using it to augment your thought pattern. You are using it to augment different parts of your research. And then when you do it that way and you submit it to any journal, there's not going to be any issue. You submit it and your paper is reviewed and is accepted. So that is my own take about that. I think I was able to clear everything. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we are rounding off very soon. So, okay, yeah, it's also part of what I mentioned before. You can use it to brainstorm a topic, you can use it to refine a language, you can use it to check your grammar. Because if you say something is original, because what may come to your mind is that something is original because you did not actually use any AI tool. And the question is, what about when you are writing and then the editor on your Word is suggesting something to you and you accept it? Is this still part of you? No. But that is part of using it to refine a language or using it to refine your grammar and so on. Those ways are very way of use. They are very good way of using it, even to to draft an outline. Oh, I want to write this project now. Just do this kind of things for me, and then maybe restructure it. Or oh, this is a topic I have in mind to use. Do you think this topic is going to have a wider readership, or do you think this topic is going to, be appealing? Like there is recently I did a pilot study for a particular thing. I was like, oh, look at this thing. Okay, now can you just draft a pilot study for me? And I gave it some topic. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is a contest and so on. So just a topic that I can use. I was like, okay, why should I use it? It was like, okay, if you use this topic, it's going to be more appealing. Those who are in this field, and people will want to read it. But if you use this one, it's going to be restricted to this and yeah. So there are a lot of ways you use it. Sometimes even if I generate something from it, I want to train it like maybe one day. I'm just using one day to train it with different data, with different things. And then the following day, I want to now go back and see if what I've gotten before is what I'm also going to get now. If it's not going to be the same thing, then it's not going to, that's not going to be authentic. It means whatever it has generated before is changing and then it's not realistic. So that's also part of the way you are doing it. So you can use to refine your language, draft an outline. In fact, that professor that was invited to our class to come and give us a talk, he was like, oh, even when you want to write a paper, you first use it to draft the paper, and then you get an outline, and then you see, oh, no, this outline is not okay. I want to infuse this one, I want to add this one, I want to do this one, because it does not think in your own direction. So because of that, you need to do all those things before you can get a good thing. So to copy something, you can fabricate citation that does not exist. So to copy the output without editing, without doing proper things, that is not and then the second thing that you need to also know is that what does my university say about AI? For example, for those of us who are outside, our university has some things they have said about AI. Oh, this is the amount of things you can use. Oh, this is how we can say it is this and it is not. So, and then you can disclose how you use it. Like I showed you the, what's it called? The textbook I used to design. Yes, at the end of the textbook, yeah, I put it there. Oh, the images that this thing generated were not corrected. And then, but for the text were modified. Yeah, the person already know how I use it. And I cannot say that I didn't use it at all. And the one that said, okay, like Femi that mentioned that, oh, if I use it to generate a picture, yes, there are some AI that you can use to generate a picture, like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not good at picture. However, it also depends on kind of prompt to give it before it can give you a full picture, not full picture, a full color picture. Otherwise, it's just going to give you 2-color picture. And then for picture, I didn't actually use ChatGPT for the picture. I use another AI for pictures where pictures are stored. There are hardly pictures that you need that you cannot get. If you say you want picture of someone that is killing another person, you will get it. Say you want picture of someone that is fighting or that is doing something or that is eating or that is sleeping or that is, regardless of whatever, once you give it a context, you get a picture. So, and whatever image you get from that is a full picture, full color. You don't even need to do anything to it. So that's why you can leverage on different of those things, and then you can use it ethically. Yeah, I think I'm almost, so I'm not going to go into this again because of time, but of course you can, I've mentioned some of all these things that you can integrate them and use them for any of the aspect of your what's it called, of your project. In fact, before now, if I get a review from Jonah and I don't even know where to start from. But today, I know where to start from. I know where to go and say, okay, this is the response. So what do you think I can do, and how do you think I can respond to this? So even to reviewing papers, and it makes it a lot more easier, because when you are responding as you ought to have responded. Because sometimes when they say A, and then they expect you to put B as the answer, sometimes they don't go straight. They don't just mention that put B as the answer. And sometimes when they mention what is A, they do not just want you to mention B as the answer. They want you to mention A, B, C, D, E, and give them more than what they are thinking. But you don't know. But with some level of training of the data on it, they have already known that this is how it is done. So that is part of what I want to mention. So let me go to question and answer now. Even though I know that we have had some questions, and I think we are bringing it to a close for today. Yes, let me know if you have a question, or you have an answer, or you have a question, or you have a suggestion, or you have something that you want to say. Okay. Must one subscribe to AI to get unlimited data? Of course, before you can get unlimited, like ChatGPT, for example, before you can get on premium version, you must pay for it. If not, there is a limit to how much you can upload or how much data you can get from it on daily basis. And then let me also mention that most of those tools, once they are free version, you do not get the appropriate and correct answers. So you get appropriate answers from the premium version, including QBot, including Grammarly, including ChatGPT, any of those ones, even Notebook LM and so on. You get, when you get premium version, you get the best answer. And then, however, you can sometimes even use, people can collaborate. Like I remember my ChatGPT before, we were like maybe 3 or 4, and then all of us were using the same account, and then we were contributing money monthly. And but that one also has a side effect. If all of you are not in the same field, there may be some overlap of how the responses are, especially if you don't know how to prompt it. I know how to prompt it, but the other person doesn't know how to prompt it. So some of the responses that I will give will be pertaining to what, like similar to what it will have given me as a response. So it was like, no, let's separate it. I was like, no, I think the main issue is a prompting issue. So many people don't know how to prompt it. And it is so disheartening that when lecturers here, even in the Western world where they are already advancing, are teaching the students how to prompt, or they are teaching the students, or they are encouraging students how it should be used ethically, then you have places where they even need it more, and they are saying, don't use AI. That is a big issue. So yeah, Oluwadamlola, can you teach us how to prompt AI? Yeah, I would definitely do that, but it's not going to be today, because how to prompt AI is not the main thing. There are some steps you must have taken before you prompt it, and it gives you what you need. So it's not just about prompting. Of course, if I say, what is your name? You will give me a response. So there are ethical way of prompting it, and there are some preparation you must have already made before you prompt it, so that when it's giving you response, you already know what, even the response, if it's not correct, you already know that it's not correct. Like, for example, I want to do a research now. I've not started, I've not explored it so much. I'm still reading different literature review, different materials, writing my thoughts, and then drafting all those things, and then putting them somewhere, so that when I ask it, for example, or when I want to augment it with it now if it does not give me something in line with what I've already written down, I already know that, no, that's not where I'm going. And then I could just say, I'm not sure this thing that you said is correct according to this, and it will say, oh, I'm sorry, it's true, it's not correct. And then it will say, okay, that citation is not available. I don't have anything about it for now, and so on. So there are a lot of things. And one of the things I see that people want is that they just want something fast. And then, no, these things has method. And because that mentality of, I just want to do this thing fast, that's not life. Sorry, it's life, but that is not ethical way. Ethical way is that you want to go through the rudiment. It is by going to the rudiment to know, okay, now this thing I have done, like the people I share with you, I use AI to, as I mentioned, to write it from normal word to latest. There is no line of that paper you are going to ask me a question that I'm not going to respond to you. because I have read those papers also. So even when I'm doing my interpretation, for example, because of course I can use it to do interpretation, but I've read those things and there's hardly a line you're going to ask me, I'm not going to be able to respond to. Why? Because I know what the paper is all about. But we are getting to the age that people don't even know, they don't even have any substance about what they are researching. And then they have done to use AI. And then you come to ask them, can you tell me about your research? And they begin to rant. So if you say you have done research and you're ranting about your research, then that means you're not the one that did it. So it's not about sharp, what's it called? Fast. Even by saying you want to do fast, then that is questionable. Because research, for those who are doing research, I don't mean for in our context over there where people do research because of promotion. People do research in many other places, not because of promotion, they do research because they want to impart knowledge. They want to spread knowledge. They want people to know about things. So when you are doing research for that purpose, people spend their time, they spend their life, they spend their everything they have. Even sometimes people abandon family, which of course that is the extreme. People abandon anything that can distract them. They want to do what is of quality and then they want to send it out. So even when they have used AI or they have used AI to augment their writing, they are not going to be feeling any guilty because they have also done their inner, their inner preparation, and then which makes it even sometimes some of them like what's it called? They can generate different papers from the same paper because of what they are. That makes them to know about their writing.
Hello?
Yes, any other comments?
Hello? Samson?
Who is that same Samson? Please, can you just mute yourself, please?
Can I?
Yes, any other comments?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, you talked about some of these AI tools, or even all, that there must be a difference in the response they give when you are operating on a free version and when you're operating on a subscribed version, premium version. And by that, yeah, just like you rightly said, there are certain answers that it will give. When you query it, it will try to apologize and tell, yes, it was a mistake and all of that, try to rephrase itself. Do such things still occur in premium versions? Because I haven't been opportunity to use any premium version of any AI. And again,
before you go, let me just quickly respond to that one, please.
Okay.
Any version you are using can give you a similar result if you don't know how to prompt it well. The only difference between free version and premium version is that if free version will give you like 2 paragraphs, premium version can even give you up to 3, 4 paragraphs. But if you know how to use, of course, I use a free version for long because I already know how to prompt it. And like somebody just was telling me about another one, I was like, oh, that one was good, this and this. And I tried it, I was like, no, this one that they are running away from, I said, because I already know and study how prompt should be, this one is still okay. But if I'm working on coding, for example, maybe I'm coding on Python, I know of the one to go for. If I'm coding on R, I know the one to go for. So some of them, if it is on writing, I know the one to go for. So the point is that prompting is the main issue. Because if you want to now say premium, it's going to force anybody that cannot even afford that. Say, now I cannot afford premium. Let me just wait and look for. No, even with the free version that you have, it depends on how much information you want. If you want information of 2, 3, 4 paragraph or 4 paragraph, 5 paragraph that you want to rewrite and you want to read again and then go over it again and make more other examples to complement what you have done, yeah, that's okay. So it's not just about the version, it's also about the prompting. Yeah. You can go to second question now.
Okay, then pertaining to, because I know will I say all? Yeah, when it comes to usage of AI, that is still where, yeah, the ethical usage of AI comes in. If when you try to use AI to maybe do a pilot study or a literature review, most of the time you get to discover that it makes use of hypothetical references that are nowhere to be found. And such citations most times could be very misleading. And by that is where it calls for the researcher to do an in-depth study himself in order to be sure. You must be grounded in what you are researching before you can dictate that, this thing or this do not exist, or so and so this thing that is being cited is not really the way it was put in that particular, and all of that. And by that, what are the ways to forestall some of these AI tools giving these hypothetical citations? Is there any way to forestall that? Is this something that good prompting can still eliminate, irrespective of the particular AI being used?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Your question that you raised is very, very important. And for that, it's not just about the prompting, it's about the training.
Okay.
There are two parts to it. It's just that, let's imagine you have a dog, and then you train that dog to say good morning to you in the morning. You are not expecting that dog to say good afternoon after some years or after some weeks of training that data, of training with that. So that's part of what we are going to cover in the next second one. We are going to know how to, one, train your AI. When you train your AI, you are not going to get all those hypothetical research, or what's it called, like references that you don't, number one, you don't know where those references are coming from. So there are ways that you can train it. It's not going to give you anything outside. And because I have known how to train it, let me say I want to do a research that I know that it's not actually in my own field, but I want to collaborate with somebody, but I just want to have a strand of what is going on with our field. I can train it in such a way that all the references is going to give me will be based on those materials. And then I read them up and I know what they're all about. And I can even get maybe an interim summary and say, okay, what is the interim summary of this? And then sometimes I will say, okay, what other research can I do with this? And how does this actually connect to my own research field and so on? So there are ways of, number one, training your data or training the AI you are using. Number two is also prompting it ethically. So those ones are going to be covered for the second one. And then the second version of what we have done today is going to be more practical than this. And then, so because people need to do practice while we are doing it, and then they can share their screen. So it's going to be more of walking people through how to do all these things, and then not that somebody is going to be listening and passive and say, okay, just send me the video, audio recording, or this recording when you are done. No, even as you are coming, you can even bring your research that you are doing, and we can even use one to test, or even in the classroom, we are going to try one, and then research that we don't even know about, we are going to do about it, work on it, and finish that paper even before we finish. Yeah, very possible and very easy. So yeah, thank you. It's about training your data or training it with training your AI, and then prompting your AI. Raphael, what is the best generative AI on research and paper writing? There's no best, there's no better. So it depends on, like there's one now. All you just need to do is you can upload like 100 paper to it, or even about 200 paper once, and it can generate a full-fledged paper to you. And then you can only generate like 4 papers a month, and you pay like about $30 and so on. So I cannot say there is a particular best. The question is, what do you use it for? Who are you? And do you just do research because of something, or you have passion for research and you want to do it, and you are just looking for something that can be a tool to support your research? Also, the question is, why are you using AI? Because the question why you are using AI, or answers to why you are using AI, is different from mine. So mine may be that, I just want to leverage AI because, number one, if I were to be in your shoe, you are even in a place where by the DOI of where you are using, of where you are, or by the, what's it called, HTML of where you are you are restricted to information that you can get. But now you have AI that can even give you more information and then can even make your paper to be more robust. Not only that, even more depth, that even when somebody reads it, they won't know where it's coming from. I was talking to a colleague of recent, and it was like somebody said when he picks a paper from written by a Nigerian, you already know that that paper is from Nigerian. I was like, that is sarcastic. So yeah, it could be sarcastic, but it happens because one, it's not your language or it's not our first language. Number two, there are a lot of dynamics about the language usage and so on, which we're not taught. Even the so-called lecturers or even professors sometimes, he's not even the one that did this, what's it called, his doctoral research. And then maybe somebody even wrote the paper or somebody even did the analysis for the person. So you cannot even say he singularly did all the paper or the thing that made the person to be a professor. Is that the person that you are thinking that can now introduce you to many of those things? No. So, and sometimes some of them are also still restricting and say, no, I'm not part of this AI because if you continue to use AI, every AI is going to replace us. No, they are just being afraid. And because they are afraid, if they are not careful, they are even the one that will be replaced because things are changing. I attended a workshop recently and they were teaching us how we use AI to grade student responses, student answer. That means as a teacher, for example, I'm not going to spend all my life saying I want to grade hundreds of maybe 200 students in a classroom. I want to see how I can automate some of those things and move on. Because you don't automate, even when the student fail too many in your class, of course, as a teacher, you have failed, and so on. So there are a lot of things that we can benefit using AI in our life and so on. You want to set a calendar for a whole year, you want to set a calendar for a paper you're writing. It's part of what you can use it to do. So I need to bring this meeting to a close in the next 3 minutes. Just one or two other questions, and then I will tell you when the next workshop is going to come up and details about that. Yeah. Any other one?
Yes, Shegun, please. I want to make a comment. I think my comment is becoming too much.
No. So no, let me tell you something. Imagine you are not there. Nkechi was not there. Richard was not there. Emmanuel was not there. And a few of persons that have commented, then you will have made me to just be talking without response.
Yes.
So it's not too many. So just go ahead.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm a lecturer and I have students. All right. So one of my master's students currently submitted a proposal. A proposal that is 100% written by AI. 100%. What advice do you have for me to? What can you tell me to do to this particular student? Because I've spoken a lot of time about the use of AI with my students, encourages them on how to use AI. In fact, give them the AIs that they can use for their research. But at the end of the day, most of them are working somewhere in Abuja, in places like that. So they literally don't have time to actually sit down. Most of them are just doing their masters because they want to get a promotion, like you said. Now, this student had given out his work, constructed it out, and gave me the proposal write-up last week. And when I check on Qbot, I discovered that everything he had written is AI, 100%. What do you advise me to do? Because I'm getting exhausted with this. Yes, AI is good, but this, I think, is a problem for me. Thank you.
Okay. No, don't go yet. When the paper was submitted as a proposal, what step did you take?
Okay. I read through the paper. I went through the proposal and I discovered that it's actually AI written. I even check on Quillbot. There are languages that you will see. You can imagine somebody writing a proposal and writing conclusion in a proposal. Probably the person had ChatGPT. You know, ChatGPT can give you conclusion to what you have written if you don't know how to use it properly. So, and there are other things. You are writing a literature review, but you are starting with introduction in a literature review. Having a meeting now. Sorry about that. They are having their own fun.
So yeah, that's good. It's part of life.
So in literature, I saw introduction, you know, those are things that easily prompt your attention to, okay, you want to pay attention to it and look at what the person has written. So I had read through and I noticed that there are a lot of AI work in his write-up. So I had to call his attention and tell him, this is too much of AI. Yes, I encourage you to use AI, but this is too much of AI. Can you write something by yourself? Read journals, use AI to generate journals or to get journals, read it and rewrite some part of this work.
Okay. Do you think your comments will make that student to do it the way you mentioned?
Well, that's why I'm asking you now, because I have spoken several times. Okay, I gave them how to do their outline using ChatGPT, for example. Okay, give this prompt to ChatGPT, and it will help you to develop outline on the topic we want to research about. ChatGPT will help you to do this. And when ChatGPT do it, you can also look for journals on that subtopics that you have, on the synopsis that you have. Look for journals and start to read about it. Get AI to do some research for you about the topic. And from there, you'll be able to juxtapose and get a better idea on how to write your research work. These are the kind of comments I made to my students when they are not doing what I think is correct. So, but this particular student I'm talking about, I've spoken with him like 2-3 times, and he's still 100% AI.
Okay, let me come in. I have some comment to make, and I know that's how many of us were trained when we appeared with the lecturer, and then the next thing is that one writes a proposal and so on. Maybe you can put your Femi, maybe you can. Okay, thank you for that. I think that's how many of us were trained, where a lecturer would just say, okay, now you are at the writing research stage. So the next thing is that go and write a proposal, and then somebody can go and manufacture something. In fact, that you told the students it was AI, how sure are you that that was even done by the students? That the student has not even gone to give it to somebody to do it, and then he's submitting it to you. So when you say it's AI, the person will just go back there or go back to the player and say, see what you generated, it was AI. Now, there are a lot of things that we can do. Apart from teaching our students how to use AI, we can also hold their hands at every milestone. For example, I told you that I'm doing a research, and then for a period of 4 months, I'm just reading different literature review on daily basis, or maybe 3-4 times a week, and then and so on. And then I will do that for about 4 months or 3 months before I will say I'm writing something substantial about it. Now, it's an approach that they actually often use here. Before you do a research, you want to do what we call, they call it more or less like a directed research. You are working directly with your supervisor or with your advisor, and then your advisor is, okay, go and write the topics of the papers you are going to be interested in reading. And you want to make a list. Sometimes it could be up to 100 lists of papers, and then you want to see how you want to begin to read those papers one after the other. Now, if, for example, before that student is told to write a proposal, you told the student to, okay, download materials. Don't read them. Download materials you want to use for your research. And then they bring those materials to you, and then you select maybe about 5 or 10 that are very close to the research that the student is going to do. And then it's okay, take these papers, read them. Next week we are going to meet, maybe on Zoom or anywhere because of the distance. And then you meet and then you have the student discussing those papers with you. Now, when they are finished discussing those papers with you, from whatever they are discussing, you already know, oh, you see this person had already read the paper. And then they now understand some concept about the paper. They understand some construct about the paper. They understand more or less like at least the direction of the paper. Now, if the student wants to now use AI, for example, the moment the student is using AI and is reading it, he is able to say, no, this thing is not correct. Oh, I'm correcting this one. No, that's not the language that that person used. So it becomes more easier, and then it will make the student to read that paper first, even before the student will project or will write the proposal. So, but if you say we have taught them how to use it, but we are not holding their hands, at every milestone, they will still be forced or be frustrated, or they will be motivated to use it without any ethical usage. And that's not the goal. So the second way, if I were to be in your shoe, I would have done it, would have been that the moment he submitted it and I've gone to check it, one, because I saw proposal, I cannot just say it is AI generated. No, because I already know different way of writing proposal. I just mentioned to you, for example, there are some conferences that you need to write 500 words for conference before they review it. Not like conference in Nigeria that they don't even review abstract. Their abstract is 500 words. Their 500 words is more or less like you are writing a proposal, which must have introduction. It must have literature review, small literature review, like some paragraphs and some sentences. It must have a method. It must have a result. It must have a conclusion. Right, and it must just be 500 words and so on. So because I already have different way of writing proposal, if I see conclusion in a proposal, I'm not going to firstly be thinking that is AI. The first thing I will have asked if I were to be your shoe is that, okay, fine, this is your proposal. Then let's set up a meeting, discuss what you have written. Tell me about the study. And then by the time the student cannot, you don't even need to tell the student that, okay, next time we are going to meet, you are going to discuss. He's the one that wrote it and said, okay, so we are meeting next week, this and that. Okay, tell me about the study and so on. So if the student is not able to juxtapose the study, he cannot be able to answer some question about the study. Okay, now that means tell me you have used AI. Is the student that will even say he has used AI, even though you have already done some background check to know that the student used AI? But it's not going to come from your mouth, because here they don't say that, because if you say it, the student can tell you that he does not use AI. And if you want to argue with the students, they can drag you to the court and you can lose your job. So you want the student to be the one to use his mouth to say, yes, I use AI, because the student cannot defend. But if you call the student and the student is smarter enough and the student can defend to you and say, no, I don't use it, and all the questions you ask, the student can answer, then there's no way for you to say the student has not used or the student has used AI, because the students have used it maybe more ethically. So there are a lot of things that I think we need to change about research writing in Nigerian context. Many lecturers who are even lecturers today, how many of them wrote it themselves? So because they have bad lecturers or bad advice or supervisor, they were not motivated to do it. But if you do it with some of those methods I mentioned, it could encourage your students more on getting the skills, understanding the concept, and then before they use AI for their research, and that will guide them. I don't think, does that make sense to you, sir?
Absolutely. It makes good sense to me. I've learned one or two today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not that maybe I'm rebuking or I'm scolding or we are just looking at it from different perspective. So yeah, so please, yeah. Yes, I think that may be the last comment that we'll have. Okay, I almost came to a situation I teach my primary student. Basic 6 students will snap their common entrance pass question, prompt it to AI and get all their answers. And just knew last month, I honestly. In fact, I think they call that thing, if I can check my phone, all what you just need to do is to snap, especially if it is mathematics. You snap it, it gives you the answer. I think, okay, they call it question.ai. Question.ai. All you just need to do is to scan it. When you click on it, you're going to see what's it called, and then you snap. When you snap it, if it's a mathematics or anything calculation, it gives you, it does not only give you the answer, it solves the procedure to get the answer. So as a teacher, for example, and you only have one way of solving that question, and that one way of solving that question was because of the textbook you are used to, or because of how you were taught when you were in school, and you're using that same one way of teaching them, and they have gone to use question AI. They have seen different other ways of solving that thing. Now, when they bring that answer to the class, you will say it's not correct. It means the teacher also has something to do. So you see how even when you say you don't want to teach the students some of these things, they have many platforms where they learn those things. So there are a lot of them that will even explain to them all the methods. So as a teacher, it is now your responsibility to now see, okay, now that they could do it this way, they could do it that way, and so on. So let the class be more engaging. So if the class is more engaging, the one that does not know how to teach out, does not know that question, will not be able to say anything in the class. And then there you can be able to classify them and so on. So that is part of what, as a teacher, you also need to consider, because you cannot just say they're not going to use it. They can use it for assignment and so on. But if in the classroom is more of engagement, is more of talking together, is more of interacting, then it will be easier for you to know those who are actually using it, and not just using it, those who are using it to improve on themselves, and those who only rely on it, that even in exam or they want to smuggle it in for them to be able to do the exam properly. Will it be ethical to use AI to write directly from the paper you downloaded and read? To write directly from the paper. Then, if you do it this way that you mentioned, are you using AI as a tool or as a researcher? It's part of what we need to get right. And that's why I will advise, especially many of us who are lecturers here, let's look for a way to ensure that we teach our students how to have value for some of these things. Of course, I know because of economy, people are looking for sharp way and then do many of those things, but many of them tomorrow will still have interest of going to different other parts of the world. When they go there, there's no how they will cope if they don't have some of those skills. And sometimes whatever we're also teaching, we make sure that those things are applicable to real life situation, not just that I'm teaching my Pythagoras theorem. The question is, what does it relate to in society? What does it relate to in health? What does it relate to in the immediate environment of people? And then I'm relating with them, and then the kind of job it's related to. So if we don't bring those things into context, there's no how they will find our classes to be more interesting. So like this question you ask now, will it be ethical to use AI to write directly from the paper you downloaded and read? Why do you want to do it that way? Are you using AI as a tool, or has it become a researcher? So to me, I didn't see this question to be ethical, because it's not going to, it no longer as a tool, but it's becoming more or less like a researcher. And let's use it as a tool. I think doing that way give our work credibility, and not only that, we have, when we publish a work and somebody reach out to you and say, okay, I read your work, oh, it was very interesting, very fascinating. Can I have a Zoom call with you? I want to discuss with you more about the work and so on. You will be able to do that. You will not have to go and begin to read again many other things that you have not even read before. So before we close, the next one is going to be, particularly is going to be meant for those who are doing research. Let me just mention that. Particularly those who are doing research. And so it's going to be ethical AI prompting for academic or research writing. And one of the things that is motivating me to do the second one is that, of course, I know that many people spend money to publish in Nigeria and so on. And sometimes because of money, that's why we have almost 6-7 people co-authoring together, not necessarily because they wanted to, like collaborate and do many things. So I'm doing it particularly for those who maybe who have not been exploring, or they have not been publishing in many places as they wanted, or they have not been using AI as they think they should. So it's primarily for those who are into research writing. And then that's why it is very restricted. And we are going to be diving into stages of academic writing, training in the AI interface for better responses, ethical AI prompting, AI tools that we can use for different phases of our research, from idea to research question to literature review to method. Even if your study has to do with coding, or either with R or Python, data analysis, even discussion. AI that you can use even for citations, AI that you can even use to even respond to editors, maybe when your paper is reviewed and they want to reply, you want to reply them after they have reviewed your paper. There are a lot of AI tools you can use for any of these stages. And not just as somebody discussing those AI tools for you, where is a need for us to practice that thing that we are saying. So it's going to be very restricted, and people that are going to be joining, they will need to come with their laptop or whatever they can use to ensure we are doing it together in the classroom. And at the end of everything, we see how far they have gone. And if they have any comment or any follow-up questions, they can still reach out to me, and then we can pick from there. And so this, for example, will not make you to even spend money for publication. How much do you spend money to publish even in the local journal in Nigeria? You spend 15,000 to publish or 20,000. If you convert that 20,000 into times two, maybe 15,000 times two, you have 30,000. And then you use it to learn everything that you need. That in fact, by the time you are through with your project or with your research, you will not even think of sending your paper to any journal in Nigeria or in Africa. You think of sending your paper to journals that are outside, and then you publish your paper for free. We have many journals in Elsevier, we have many journals in Taylor and Francis, we have many journals in what is it called, John Benjamin and so on. And they are going to publish for you for free, even Cambridge Journal and so on, when you do what you ought to do in a proper way. They publish everything for you for free, and you don't even need to spend money on anything. And that's why tentatively it's going to come up on the 17th of June. That's next week rather, and it's going to be around 8 or 9, depending on the consensus we reach for those that are going to be joining. So we are going to be spending definitely more than 3 hours because it's not just that I will be teaching you, is that, okay, when I teach you one stage or one thing, then want to practice it, and then you want to tell us, okay, what do you think you can also do? How do you think can adapt this to your research? What research are you doing now? And I will also wish that make sure you have a research you are bringing to the class. So if you have a research you are bringing to the class, it makes it more easier for us to be particular about what we are doing and not just asking hypothetical question. So that is that. And of course, it's not going to be free. It's going to be 30,000 Naira. And then so anybody that has interest, we send the payment, proof of payment to the email attached there, and then they can join, and then we'll be able to have a good time together. Yeah, and this is still June. Before the end of this year, you can still have like 2 papers and you can send out, so that by December, you can get some responses from them, or early January. And then by this time next year, for some of the journals that are faster, you can get your paper published. We have some journals are still fast, maybe with Taylor and Francis, for example, that even within 2 years or 1.5 years, you can get your paper published for free without any payment that they are going to be asking for. Yeah. So let me know if you have question from about this before we call it a day. Yeah. If there is no question, any question or comment or anything. Now we mentioned money, nobody wants to talk again.
I have a comment to make. I want to make a request. Is it possible for us to shift, since money is involved and some persons may need some time to source the fund? Is it possible to extend it beyond, maybe like our next meeting should be 2 weeks from now, not necessarily next week, to have more people join?
Yeah.
Please, before you respond, Shegun, please, before you respond. All right. I also agree with Nkechi. Many of us are civil servants. We plan whatever we want to do with our stipend that we collect. Our salary is quite meager. So, and some of us are married. 30,000 Naira looks very small in Nigerian context too. Not to talk of where you are. 30,000 Naira looks small. But many of us will not be able to afford 30,000 Naira if we say 17th of June. I also want to plead, if we can shift it a little bit ahead, maybe towards the end of the month, when many of us will receive salary, we will have planned it from now. It will be part of our plan because many of us need this teaching and we need to learn from you that have been using this AI very well and you've been using it to do so many things. So please, I want you, before you shake your head and say, no, 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 because I can see that response already, please consider us. Or you can also do it this way. Maybe you subsidize for us that attend this year first. So just make it easy for us now, boss. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for Nkechi and Femi. Sorry that I didn't use your title as I said before. Yeah, I actually got, I think I can also align with what you are thinking. My intuition before was that I was looking at the space between now, for example, and December. And I want to see how much whoever that is going to be part of that journey can finish 2 papers between now and December. And when I say paper, I don't mean paper, I mean thoroughly and well done paper. But because of the request and especially since money is involved, and majorly, as you mentioned, 30,000 is a lot, but sometimes for the previous workshop I've made, so maybe for some other things like in my field, when money is not involved, people are not serious. But when money is involved, people are serious. Of course, this one is 30,000 is a very small money. Don't let me say small money relatively, but I mean it's a lot, but I could do it also for free. It's not just about the money. But sometimes when it is not involved at all, no, there's no that commitment. And it's not like the 3 hours that I've spent now, for example. If I've picked like 2, 3 articles within that 3 hours, it's possible that I could have finished those articles. And it means I've added something to my knowledge. And then it means that tomorrow, if a journal sends a paper to me and says, okay, review this thing for me, it means I don't need to say I want to leave that paper and then I want to begin to read about it. So yes, I will work on that and see maybe we can push it to the end of the month, or maybe first or second day of next month. And concerning the discount, let's discuss the discount. Let's just leave it as that. Yeah, let's just leave it as that. But I think it'd be much interesting. It will be more okay for people. I can even bring some part of things I use it to do. Recently, I was using it also to do, maybe I shouldn't even mention it because the paper is under review. So the part of what I'm just trying to say is that there is hardly what you cannot use it to do. I'm not so much vast about coding, for example, but with it, I can do any coding that I want to do and so on. So I think let's make it that amount without any discounts. Because when a discount, then there will be other story to discuss. And then we can make it maybe early next month or end of this month so that we can plan about it. Is there a discount for graduates who is very much interested in research but does not have a job to solicit? Don't put me in a tight corner. We are all graduate students, so yeah, we are all graduate students, so don't put me in any tight corner. I think the money is not so much, especially for what you are going to benefit. For example, those who are thinking of graduate school, you should begin to think now. If there is any proposal you are making that does not have a component of AI, that proposal cannot fly. If, for example, you are thinking of US or you are thinking of Australia or Germany at the moment, or even on what's it called, Canada, the full scale of AI is already eating ground and they don't think of going back. So like I was in a seminar like 2 days ago and the person was like, they have gotten to a time or a moment where they are using AI to predict drugs prescription for people. So people, they don't want to be going to, okay, let's begin to write again, because they have seen that human being, we fail in many things or in many ways, but to a large extent, if you train the AI, is more accurate than human being. And that's why people think that, does he think? Does he have feeling, or does he think like human being and so on? And there are a lot of ways people are using it now. And the guy was like, oh, they use it to predict drugs. In fact, with the cancer research that they are even doing in that lab, they use it to predict or to diagnose or to test cancer. So you don't need, doctor does not need to spend like 2-3 months to be testing somebody before you can say there's cancer. With the AI, you can say, okay, because of this. So that already gives the doctor a guide on what exactly they are looking out for to declare either the person has a cancer or it does not. And then they can say the probability of the person having cancer or not. So if last year or previous year you have submitted some papers or some for grad school and then you didn't get anything, the direction of main department is shifting from traditional way of doing research or doing program to AI. If you check some of the programs in US recently now, many of them are already having department of AI, department of machine learning, because they have seen that, see, there's nothing we can do, we cannot go back. And they are looking for how they can integrate the AI component into their research. So that can also be an insight for those who are grad students or who are thinking of going outside of Nigeria to do a program or PhD or any program. Make sure you look for a component of AI, a component of machine learning, a component of what's it called, digital humanity in your research. That is where everything is shifting to. So for Nkechi, thank you very much for the suggestion. I think I will go by that. I will change the date. And then also Femi, thank you very much. I think with that, we can bring it to a close, except we want to have a general comment. Any other general comment before we bring it to a close? Or we can close with that. Okay, so if there's no comment, I think it suggests to me that we can close it. All right, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful meeting. We had about 20 people. I wish I could take this a snapshot of those who attended, but thank you very much. I really appreciate, and I look forward to see you next time.
Thank you, sir.